from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Monday, October 9th. So today we have the moon in Leo all day, and of course that definitely gives us a little bit more of a spark, more of a fire, more of a flame to learn how to kind of cultivate, where new passions, new desires, new truths are emerging in order for us to kind of bring them to the forefront, really helping us to piece together this new version of self and really start putting the pieces together on what this new version of self now wants to pursue. This is the last day that Pluto, the great transformer himself, is going to be retrograde. There is an astro forecast out and available for your listening pleasure if you want to do a deep dive on what Pluto is all about. Of course, Pluto's been retrograde since May, really stunting the amount of growth, change, transformation that we've been able to take in our exterior realms because we had a lot of growth and transformation and change going on in our inner realm. So now that Pluto is going to be going direct, we are going to see that internalized energy now come out to play. We're definitely going to see a forward movement, and we're definitely going to see major changes, major transformations. So definitely check that particular video out. So there are 12 different aspects here today, 8 of them going to involve the moon. We have Mercury and Uranus making a little bit of a tough aspect right out of the gate. Of course, Mercury rules over our mental plane, information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves. Mercury's in Libran energy, which of course is highlighting indecision and the push and the pull and the ebb and the flow and the back and the forth in order for us to find a brand new sweet spot. Now, of course, Mercury ruling over communications in this Libran energy, definitely more of a chatty Cathy than we've been in previous positions. And now we're really looking to kind of bounce our ideas off of each other. We're looking to balance our heart and our head. We're looking to have heart-to-heart conversations, mediate, counsel, compromise in order for everyone to get along. But Uranus, on the other hand, the great awakener himself, who was retrograde in this Taurus energy, is highly focused on trying to illuminate where it is that we're resisting change. Even more than that, where it is that we're actually fearful of making the changes and transformations that we kind of feel inside of us, we know that we need to make. Now, Uranus is the higher form, the higher octave of Mercury. Uranus kind of connects us to the higher realms of intelligence, where Mercury is kind of connected to the lower level intellect, really connected to our egoic programming. Mercury is how we take information in from our physical realm, how we kind of compile it, how we make sense of it, how we form an opinion about it, and then of course how we communicate and express that opinion outwardly. Uranus is more, I'm going to say, aha moments, epiphanies, greater grandeur downloads, if you will, in order to release and relieve a lot of the stagnant positions, perceptions, understandings that we may be too fixated in, and help us illuminate to where it is that we can change our perspective, change our feelings because of it, and then go ahead and actually change our physical realms because of it. Mercury and Uranus kind of interacting in this way, because it's not the nicest aspect, is definitely going to make us a little bit jittery. Definitely highlighting the indecision, where it is that we're sitting on the fence about things, where it is that we're kind of doing a deep dive in the more negative of narratives, because there's a lot of fears and doubts and insecurities surrounding where it is that we're leaving certain aspects behind, and we're not quite well prepared or equipped to jump into the new. So we're definitely starting the day off on a little bit of a, I'm going to say, anxiety, anticipation, restless type of energy. There's a lot going on in the mental plane, and unfortunately this is going to kind of illuminate the confusion more than it is going to illuminate clarity. But just keep in mind that we have to sit in confusion before the clarity comes, and this would be a prime example of just that. The moon in Leo energy going to sextile, beautiful interaction with the sun, who of course is in Libran energy. We love fire and air working together as long as we're able to keep it balanced and we don't burn ourselves down or burn ourselves out. The moon, typically speaking, is of course our heart space. The sun is our life force energy, what it is that our inner realm needs to bring into manifestation, into our reality, and truly express in the outer realm. The moon in this Leo energy, definitely real and raw and vulnerable and authentic, standing in our truth, standing in our passion, standing in our desires, standing in a new arena for us to kind of come forth with some of the things that maybe we've been hesitant to express. And the sun, of course, shining a bright light in this Libran energy, where it is that we kind of have to balance our inner realm with our outer realm, our higher self with our ego self, our heart and our head. And therefore, this is an opportunity to kind of see where it is that maybe we've been kind of holding back, not truly expressing ourselves. And therefore, that scale is out of whack, out of balance. And how we can correct that is to be bold and brave and courageous enough to open up our mouth, open up our heart space, open up our head space, have conversations that will illuminate what it is that we've been holding within ourselves, and really truly expressing what it is that we need to get out in order to manifest, bring into reality, start building upon. Mercury is then going to have a positive interaction with Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of growth, expansion, belief, abundance, blessings. Jupiter is retrograde in this Taurus energy, really giving us a time out to act as the observer, see whether or not we're still in alignment with our passions, with our goals, with our dreams, with our visions that we came into the year wanting to pursue. And especially dating back to May, where it is that because so much has changed, maybe we have to kind of derail the path, the plan, the strategy on what it is that we thought we were moving towards, and really kind of reevaluate what it is that we're now being called to pursue. Of course, with Jupiter in a retrograde, this is an internalized energy. So there's a major growth taking place in our inner realm. We have a lot of wisdom, knowledge that we've already accumulated from our tough love life lessons that we now have to put into practice. Having Mercury and Jupiter kind of interact in a positive way is great for a better narrative, a more optimistic point of view, a little bit more, I'm going to say, supporting, encouraging type of narrative that we need to have in order to really explore some new ideas, some big ideas coming in. Jupiter tends to magnify, turn the volume all the way up. And of course, Mercury being in the mental plane, we have a lot of rapid processing going on. A lot of new ideas coming in that, of course, in the Libran energy, we have to kind of weigh the pros and cons about. But overall, this is a positive mental plane shift. We're starting to see possibilities where we once seen brick walls. So we have to take the little bit of puzzle pieces being gifted to us by the universe and really be grateful, have the attitude of gratitude for the little tiny bits of clarity that, of course, we're starting to piece together. The moon in Leo going to make a positive interaction with Mars. Mars is the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, even our anger. He's in his weakest placement here in this Libran energy. He's stuck in the intellectual battlefield. His weapon, his sword, has been taken away. He's not able to kind of move forward, cutting through, cutting off the cords, the obstacles that are standing in our way, because of course we're stuck in the mental plane. Of course, there's part of us not really wanting to come forth with the anger, the agitation, the frustration, the restlessness in which we're currently feeling. We're trying to mask that in the Libran energy in order to keep the peace and not rock the boat. But there's another part of us that just wants to sink this ship, just wants to kind of flip tables, if you will, and this whole balancing act of trying to keep this anger, frustration, and restlessness under wraps has been very challenging. Now, again, we have the moon in Leo, fire energy, Mars in Libra, air energy. We have the ability to really kind of inflate, if you will, new ideas, new passions, new desires. We're real, we're raw, we're vulnerable, operating from the Leo energy of the heart space and that Libran energy that unfortunately Mars is kind of stuck in right now is really good if we can calm the anger, frustration, and restlessness down in order to channel that into coming up with a plan, a strategy, with some calculated moves on how it is that we're going to bring some of these passions, these goals, these dreams, these desires that the moon in Leo is bringing forth into reality. The moon in Leo going to trine, beautiful interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer, who is retrograde in this Aries energy, helping us to really kind of understand where it is that we're having issues, letting certain parts of us go, where it is that we're kind of struggling, bringing forth this new energy, this new empowerment, this new attitude, this new version of self. This is a trine, which means that these energies are harmonizing together. This is a gentle nudge in the right direction. We're seeing a little bit of growth. We're seeing some healing, especially where the heart space is concerned. We are seeing some progress in really kind of examining where it is in our heart space. We have these blockages, these connections, these cords still very attached to what was, and where it is that we are slowly but surely cutting those cords in order to stand in what currently is. Now, the sun in Libran energy going to make a very awkward interaction with Saturn. Saturn, of course, is the Lord of Karma. He rules over roles, responsibilities, systems, structures, foundations. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces energy, bringing to an end, to a close, a 30-year chapter. Even outside of the 30-year chapter that collectively speaking, Saturn's trying to bring to a completion point, we are using this particular energy to kind of dissect, dissolve, deconstruct, destroy the old version of self, the old belief patterns that built that old version of self, the belief patterns that created the realm and the reality that the old self is now looking to get away from, because we've grown so much within ourselves and so much has transpired that we essentially are growing up, no longer resonating and vibrating with the realm, with the reality, with the aspects, with the elements that we previously had brought into manifestation. This isn't going to be a good feeling, because what it's doing is, of course, the sun shining a bright light on restrictions. That is what the Saturn energy normally amplifies. We get a little bit of a blockage there. We become super aware of our frustrations, our anger, our lack of progress. We are super aware of and super frustrated by the restrictions in our lives, by the limitations that we're currently facing. We are kind of getting a little bit narrow-minded, closed-minded, if you will. We're feeling very insecure. We're sitting in the fears and the doubts and the insecurities, and therefore we're kind of closing up, if you will. We're not as open and able to kind of talk about it. We're kind of, I'm going to say, becoming a little bit more introverted. We're putting a guard up. We're very much kind of falling down the stairs of the negative narrative that Saturn brings in under a negative influence. Now, the moon in Leo energy going to help us out here by making a positive aspect and interaction with Neptune, who of course is retrograde in Pisces energy. What this is going to do is, first of all, it's going to give us a little bit of a pep talk, especially coming out of this not so nice aspect between the sun and Saturn. And it's helping us build. It's helping us to renew our faith, our trust, our, let's say, vision and dream. It's giving us a reminder of what it is that we're fighting for. And again, just when we are faced with a tunnel visioned aspect to highlight where it is that we're feeling frustrated, where we're feeling blocked, where we're feeling restricted, this particular energy, again, getting real and raw and vulnerable in our heart space and mixing with our higher selves, our spiritual selves, our intuition that Neptune kind of highlights. This is a great refresher of spirit, kind of boosting our spirits up, instilling new confidence in us, and again, reminding us of what it is that we're actually fighting for. The moon is going to get into the boxing ring and fight it out with Uranus. And Uranus, of course, the great awakener, who is retrograde in this Taurus energy, in an aspect such as a square, is likely going to illuminate for us mental blockages, where it is that we're confused, what it is that we're lacking, what it is that we need. It's definitely putting a huge focus on where it is that the fears and the doubts and the insecurities are kind of reigning supreme at this point. And again, Uranus being kind of retrograde in this Taurus energy is a fixed earth sign. We're finally realizing that we're kind of feeling stuck in a rut. At one time, the realm and the reality that we created was in alignment with our vibration, with our frequency. It's what we needed at that time. But so much has changed. We've grown so much. So much has really kind of transpired in a very short amount of time that now we're really questioning whether or not what it is that we've once built, once created, is still working for us. So a square is always going to illuminate a tension point, a conflict, the push and pull, the ebb and flow going on in our heart space. And at this particular point in time, this is going to create a lot of confusion in our head space and in our heart space. But using that framework, we're going to be able to figure out how we're going to gain some clarity, what actually needs to change, what is asking for our attention, what we have to pour our time and energy and attention into in order to resolve these particular issues. The sun is then going to make a positive interaction with Uranus, and this is definitely when we're going to have an aha moment. So just a little bit of, I'm going to say a heads up here. The amount of time between the moon squaring off and fighting with Uranus and the sun now swooping in a positive interaction with Uranus is about 2, maybe 2.5 hours that we're going to sit in that, battle royale between our highest form of our intellect and our heart space. Now, once the sun in Libran energy aspects Uranus in a positive way, we're definitely going to see a change in our mood, a change in our attitude. The sun, the life force energy in this Libran energy, just wants to find a balance point, wants to find compromise. So coming out of that tension, out of that conflict, out of that awareness on what needs to change first and foremost, this is now the epiphany. This is the aha moment. This is where we're gaining a little bit of clarity on where it is that we have to pour our time and energy and attention into balancing out what it is that has had a major focal point as far as being blocked and challenge goes, and where it is that maybe we could take a baby step in the right direction to see if we can balance this particular issue, this topic, this theme out. The moon is then going to make a semi-square with Mercury. This doesn't feel good, but it's not as major as a full-blown square. So we're not getting in the boxing ring, but we may be a little bit irritated. We may be a little bit, I'm going to say, focused on a smaller conflict instead of the battle royale that takes place in a square. Of course, the moon is our heart space. Mercury is our head space, and a semi-square would indicate that we're not on the same page here. Makes a lot of sense, though. Of course, we just had this epiphany, so we need a little bit of time to process it. Our heart is telling us one thing, the headspace is telling us another, and the whole goal here is to recognize the gap, the distance, the space between the two, so that, again, we're in Libra season, we can actively trying to balance those particular conflicts out and meet somewheres in the middle. The moon in Leo, then going to trine with the North Node in Aries energy. This is some fire on fire action, which is initiating, which is exciting, which is passion, which is desire. So this means that out of the, let's say, tension and conflict that we would have experienced earlier on in the day, we're making some kind of progress in sorting out our thoughts, in sorting out our feelings. And because of that, there is a baby step being revealed. There is a little bit of clarity being revealed. The North Node in Aries is the path that we need to get on in order to reach our soul's mission, our soul's purpose. And therefore, because we've been so confused on what that even looks like and how we can even approach making the change in direction, this is a little bit of a heart activation showing us what it is that we really need to pursue. The last thing that we have going on here today is the moon making a very awkward interaction with Neptune. So of course we had a positive interaction earlier in the day. This one is not as favorable, but of course we need this to illuminate for us where it is that we're not on the same page between our higher self and our ego self. Neptune being retrograde in the Pisces energy is kind of showing us where it is that we can't run, we can't hide from our problems anymore, where we have to confront some of these issues in order to kind of alleviate the weight, the karma, if you will, on our heart space. And again, if Neptune was direct, we would be able to live in la la land. We would be able to bury our head in the sand. We would be able to kind of escape from dealing with the heaviness, the weight of our current reality. But Neptune being being retrograde, there is nowhere to go. There's nowhere to run. We have to face these issues within ourselves. We have to bring this karmic chapter, these life lessons to an end in order to have a clean slate to start something new. The moon in Leo is our heart space, where we're real and raw and vulnerable, where we're downloaded with mission, with purpose, where we have to kind of take action and pursue the things that our heart is asking us to pursue. But of course, there's a lot of fear, a lot of doubt, a lot of insecurity, a lot of pain, a lot of trauma that's truly blocking us from being as bold and brave and courageous as we need to be in order to initiate the path, the plan, the strategy to actually move forward. So although this is not favorable, although this is likely going to trigger and activate a lot of heart issues where it is that we're not feeling so safe and secure, where we're not really feeling bold and brave and courageous, we need to sit in this funk. We need to kind of tear ourselves down. We need to confront the issues and actually work at resolving them so that we can be set free, essentially, to pursue new passions, new desires, and new goals.